Ta-da! Thanks for
Ta-da.
coming back. Did you know you're on the top 10 of the best?
I mean, you mentioned to me that it was climbing last time, but I didn't know that it hit the top 10 officially.
That's the only reason I brought you back, not the awesome food you make.
Well, thank you very much. After our last event, right, we decided to do a little bit of Puerto Rican cooking as our giveaway for take-home meals last time here. And so I've had a lot of people ask me about the dish, right, because they had never had it before, or they just pleasantly enjoyed the flavors of it. So I was like, all right, or I guess we're gonna, since my best friend couldn't make it, we're gonna recreate this dish so people know how to make it at home, because it really is a simple stew. It's a drop stew. You just
drop things. Making the sofrito. I mean, if you have it made, this dish is really easy, but that does add another step to it.
It does add another step, and because I've done it before, I'm just giving you a quick synopsis of how to do it so that you can do it if you're following along. For sofrito, the basic three things that you needed was cilantro, some onion, and some garlic, right? And then some green pepper. So if you have those four items, those are the bases of almost every single Puerto Rican dish. And that is pretty much all of what sofrito is. We use salt just to preserve it. If you keep it fresh, because I do, I freeze some of these. But if you keep it fresh, they keep about a week without really damaging any of it, because we use a little bit of oil and salt for preservation purposes. The rest is just water in here, okay? This one is frozen. I'm letting it de-thaw for us so that we can use it for this dish, and it'll be the quicker way for us to get to that route. However, for those of you that don't have it frozen from last time or didn't get a chance to, I am literally just chopping off a clove of garlic, because we're going to add that to this basis right now. I know that there's a couple of more cloves over there. This one happens to be really nice and big. So
these are all, yeah. I got all the ingredients here
from the farmer's market.
From the farmer's market, except the specifics, Latin stuff, the spices, and the. I was even able to get chicken.
Nice. So cooking local for the exception of our seasoning. I love that. So thank you so much for choosing to shop local for this stuff. This is exactly what it would look like in my house.
Yeah, look at these elephant garlics.
They are gorgeous. Can I have another one of those? Thank you. Actually, really nice and big. Look at that. They're bigger than my thumb for once. I'm so used to the tiny ones, and you're fighting with them, So I'm doing the most because I'm giving y'all time to actually just crush this and put it in your food processor or blender, because it's going to be, again, garlic, right? It's going to be some green pepper and some cilantro here. Usually the ratio that I go for in a basic, this is a 2-person family home situation, right? So we use about one of these a week if we make a lot of Puerto Rican food. We're looking at 3 bunches of cilantro to 1 green pepper, 1 onion, and then garlic I tend to do to taste. Some people like garlic more than others. But that is, again, the basic.
Don't use garlic. You know what garlic is?
What is garlic?
It's where you get them a little jar of minced garlic. It's already in the jar. It's all minced up, and people tend to buy that a lot because it takes the work out of it.
Yeah.
There is no flavor.
It depends if it's in oil or water. I think oil pulls it. Oil pulls it, and you could use the oil. The water one, it does take some of it out, but
I guess it matters if you want fresh garlic or preserved.
Exactly.
Right. I mean, if you're making a well-cooked something, maybe you can use some garlic, but I use it.
Do you want the seeds?
Okay. I use garlic when I'm making a big pot of something.
Yes, because it's easy to process.
Right.
Yeah. And I did that, I think, for our last event, is I used garlic, like you said. But again, we're working on the first step of almost every Puerto Rican dish, which is sofrito. Um, I promise this will be the last time I repeat it. It's cilantro, onion, green pepper, and garlic. I'm giving it a fine chop real quick, just kind of rustic because it's all gonna get emulsified anyways. It is me trying to buy some time for y'all.
Just learn the word rustic. I like that word. For me, it was rough chop, but rustic sounds much better. I don't know, recent.
Look, I paid for these master level words. I better start using them. So
let's see. Sofrito in Spanish is what? I mean, ito is small.
Yes.
Or it could be fried, right? I mean,
it's because everything is started with oil and then this. But technically, frying this to start the basis of a roux for anything that you make that's Puerto Rican.
Got it.
So if you're used to cooking like, you know, New Orleans style food that requires roux for you to start, right? This is the same concept in that sense. Like, think of sofrito as the Puerto Rican roux that is raw before you even start to put it in the pan and then use it to season and flavor your pan for the rest of it. What?
I opened it, just smells like fresh and green and like just picked smell.
Yeah, and mind you, that is an original from the last time we made it.
That was a couple months ago.
Yeah, it's still sitting.
Yeah,
that well. So it sits for a really long time if you use salt in it and oil, especially if it's frozen and temperature controlled, which is really nice.
All right. We're gonna serve this with rice.
Yeah, we are. We're gonna serve the actual dish that we're making, right, is called pollo guisado. And it's just really a chicken stew, right? But it's the Puerto Rican take on a chicken stew. And of course, that means that it's going to utilize, you know, our traditional roux. Again, our roux is started with sofrito, which is that thing that I was starting to make for y'all so that you get an idea and have the time to do this if you didn't already have sofrito.
How well do you blend that? I mean, a reminder, it just.
So there's two categories on this one, or two schools of thought. If you're freezing it, I emulsify it all the way and add more water so that it's easier to freeze and it stays fresher. If I'm using it immediately, right? Like I'll do that one a little bit chunkier.
Crudo.
Yeah. I like that one a little bit thicker. It just lives longer in the fridge that way. For those of you that have never like messed with cilantro, I literally opened a bunch and I'm going through it to make sure that there's like no bugs or damage or anything like that. And removing those pieces that are yucky.
You use the whole thing, right?
Yeah, I do.
Don't throw the stems away.
Some people like to do this exactly what I just did. You see how I cut it in half with my hands? They'll toss this. I use it. There's still vitamins in this, and it's still delicious. Like you can't tell once it's mold in there. So that is actually one bunch.
I mean, if it's nasty, you throw it away, but otherwise.
Yeah.
And then don't throw it away. If you save all that, put it in a bag, you can use it to make soup later.
Yes, you can. You can always save it as stock for later, which I've done that as well. I tend to do that with my carrots when they're fresh picked. If I have fresh picked carrots, I'll keep the stems or the leaves and stuff, and I'll use those for soup and to create my like chicken stock for home. Because I sometimes will make chicken stock, especially in the summer. I'll do it once, and then I'll use that chicken stock to cook the rest of the week. So there goes bench number 2.
And that's a good habit because you always have extra cilantro.
Yep.
It's like if you buy some, you always have way more than you need.
Yep.
And so don't put it back in the fridge to save for later. Make it into something. Preserve it.
Exactly. So
Hey,
it's
Chef Yaya, how long does the sofrito keep in the fridge?
I think we got a question
Okay.
and I cannot hear them.
Sorry, I'm on the other side of the kitchen.
Give me one
Right
second. He's giving me a hand with rice. So he's prepping the rice because last time I cooked with y'all, that was the one thing I forgot to do was start the rice.
back.
And so Or decided to go ahead and get it started for us already.
I gave it 3 rinses,
Yes.
1 rinse less than some people. So
Yeah.
did someone have a question?
Yeah, I was just asking for the group, how long does a sofrito keep in the fridge once you've prepped it?
So when it's fresh is 1 week. When it's frozen, this one's 3 months, which is why I have to use that one now.
Now be careful freezing it in glass jars sometimes.
Yes.
I made that hat. Like do not seal the glass lid all the way to let it expand a little bit, because
Yep.
sometimes you'll have the cheap glass and it breaks.
Absolutely.
But I do not say that from experience at all.
Not at all for experience, huh? Okay, so there goes that. That is 3 bunches of cilantro, 1 onion, 1 green pepper, and some garlic in there. And that is your basic sofrito. So that is that for that.
Blend it with water or oil.
Yep. I put like a teaspoon of oil, or depending, that's a lot, so it'd be a tablespoon of oil, some salt and water. That's it, and blend.
So I'll be blending it back over here.
Yep. So
if it doesn't distract.
anyone still blending their sofrito or working on that? Because I don't want to speed past anybody, which is why I slowed down and did some prep with y'all.
I appreciate that. I cheated and bought my sofrito.
Okay, that was an option. Goya does make one that they sell, and
except that one looks like a red one.
That there is a red version of sofrito. Again, remember when I discussed, like, depending on where you are in the island, it might look slightly different. Okay. That one's more tomato based than it is cilantro based, but it'll still work for this, and it gives it a beautiful flavor.
Because I mean, we add tomatoes to this as part of the base. So you have the green and you're adding the tomatoes.
Exactly. So it's the same thing.
Okay.
It has a little less green in it than that, than this one.
I guess
but
it's like what you have the most of. You have a lot of tomatoes, you preserve them. Yeah. If you have a lot of cilantro, you preserve it.
Just like every place in our world, right? Like the potato famine was a thing because it was, a major crop for that community at that time. And so Puerto Rico works the same way depending on where you are. I don't like my carrots super big, and so I'm going to be chopping those in half. And I have baby carrots for this pollo guisado. I'm just starting to cut the prep work for that to give y'all some time to catch up with the sofrito. But normally, because they're baby carrots, I just throw them full. Just so you know, because they're going to get cut up anyways. They're going to get soft. And
the one thing blew my mind is baby carrots are regular carrots that they chop small.
Yep.
That's all it is. It's like, oh, we have a bunch of weird shaped carrots.
Let's shrink them so they look tiny.
We'll run them through a machine and make, these cute little carrots.
It's like a carrot pencil sharpener,
It's like, so they're not like, super tender. They're not super special. They're just small carrots.
Yep.
Already like pre-chopped, basically.
Yep. And so I normally wouldn't chop them. Again, buying all time. Because we're making a big pot, because anytime I deal with ore, we're feeding more people than just us. So
let's use the whole thing.
You want me to use the whole thing? That's fine, we can. I can make it super chunky so there's more every bite.
Let's see. I've got 2.5. I got 6 pounds of chicken.
Yeah, so we could use a pound of carrots.
Yeah, we're gonna feed a bunch of people.
Yes, we are. So, I need just a tablespoon of oil, and that's gonna be hard.
It is hard because it's that 5-gallon container here. It's like, how do I get a tablespoon of oil? I keep thinking, hey, if I had you just in here?
Yeah.
Okay,
Just a splash should be.
let's see.
That's it.
I
I
thought-
just need enough so that the bottom is coated. Yep, there we go. All right, so I know this is in comparison, right? This is so big.
just frying stuff on the bottom.
Yeah, basically. So it literally has not even enough, like it's just the tip. So it's a tiny bottom coat of oil. And it's just so that we saute this sofrito stuff. So
Part of what I like about this is how healthy it is. Like, any other one starts automatically.
okay,
It's the one. Just try another one.
this one?
Yeah.
All right.
I don't know. It's
So I'm gonna go for like medium low heat there, since the first part is all timing for these dishes. So you said we're doing 6 pounds of chicken. So I'm gonna need significantly more. Thank you very much, Or. So at home, if you're cooking about a pound or two, maybe 3 pounds of chicken, you're looking at about a spoon or two of sofrito. Okay.
so you don't
That
need much, but
being-
it's that because it's concentrated.
Yep. It's concentrated flavor. Think about it like a wet bouillon, right? Like instead of it being dehydrated seasoning, it's just wet seasoning that you just made. And mine's a little bit still frozen, so I'm over here digging out some of that spoonful. But you get about 2 spoonfuls. In my situation over here, I'm gonna be doing 2 to 4 of them because I'm doubling the scale. But at home, 2 should be sufficient to have all that flavor without overpowering it. Especially for those folks that can't eat too much cilantro because it starts tasting like soap. More than 2 will ruin the dish for you. So be mindful of that if your little if
So-
cilantro gets soapy for you after a little
So
bit.
that being said, have you ever tried this with Italian parsley or another type of super green?
So I've
That would be-
included parsley in the past, and I've included kale in this before and spinach in the past. My version at home that I use has more greens in it, just because I'm diabetic and I need more, you know. But you know, cilantro, vitamin A, vitamin C between cilantro and parsley, it's awesome, you know. So I really enjoy playing with my sofrito for that reason, right? But I try to not go too far Italian because I'm not trying to make it Italian, you know.
Right.
But I've played with it a little bit to kind of see how I can affect the profile. I've even added citrus to this before, like squeeze the lemon in it so that it has that like.
Do you want me to do that, or you almost got it?
I got it.
Yeah,
I got.
there you go.
Yep. There you go. We got enough there for it. I think that should do it.
You really don't need much.
Nope. So now that that's in there and it's sauteing, the rest is literally adding everything else, letting it saute, and it's just dumping it in there at that point, which
Okay.
is
And I would guess you want to put it in order of how quick something cooks.
exactly. And so
carrots, potatoes.
yep, and then I do all the softer stuff after.
Okay.
That way it's not completely gone or emulsified by the time I'm done with the entire process. And then, you know,
So you,
Sazón Goya is the one dry pack that we're going to be using there. And we use some chicken base for the stock for this, which I'm going to add those 2 and then start throwing some of the veggies in there as we go.
And I mean, the only thing really in here is what do they call it? Flavor enhancer, MSG,
Yep.
salt, garlic, cumin, a baking powder, and then coriander and añejo.
Yep. So añejo is actually the reason why we use it. Coriander and añejo is the reason why we even use that.
Last week we did a dish with the lady in Panama, and she had the nieto seeds.
Yes, I buy those to make oil, and I use oil instead of that now in the house because that brand had red 40 in it. And so we stopped using it. A lot of Latinos stopped using it as a result of the red 40.
Okay.
But, you know, is it like our traditional cooking? Like, yeah, it's traditional. It's what we know that we grew up watching people use, right, in the kitchen.
But start using more healthy stuff. Lulu, you had a question?
Yeah.
I do. So you're starting the whole ingredients for the stew, because I got kind of confused between the sofrito from scratch and starting of the stew.
Right.
So the oil you put in, you know, coat the bottom, throw in the sofrito, even if it's a jarred sofrito, the packet of Sazón,
Yep.
and
Oh.
then vegetables.
Yep.
Yep.
And put the vegetables that take the longest to cook in first.
Yep.
So
Right,
like
this is right now we haven't put any water in. We're just doing a saute. So even the potatoes, everything's gonna go in the saute.
correct.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, I mean,
Thank-
you want to coat it with all the flavors, right?
Yeah, basically, you're just mixing it. So the idea is to emulsify them while cooking them.
All
And
righty.
they marry
And
the
then,
flavor.
I mean, I would put the potatoes at the end of a chicken soup, but here you're trying to use the potatoes to thicken it, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you want
Because
the potatoes
normally
at the
I have
beginning.
pumpkin. Like me and Nati make this dish different. So like last time I made it, when I made it for our event for Latin Summer Nights, right? Those ready to eat meals. Those meals contained a form of squash that in the United States we normally don't use for food. I've seen it utilized a lot as a decorative piece, especially in the fall. But it's not recognized much as food here. But in Puerto Rico, it's actually a staple of our beans. And yep, that it is. He's pulling out them gourds. So we use those for these meals. It just enhances and thickens the broth, and it also adds a sweet element to it.
You want to use it? Look at it starting,
It's starting to go.
starting to put mushy.
Oh,
I
yeah.
bought it to do a Jamaican dish. But they run it through a juicer. They make juice out of it.
Okay.
So like half of
What-
it is soft.
What is it called?
It's a Calabasa squash.
Yeah, it's Calabaza squash.
Now that was completely green when I bought it 2
Yeah.
weeks ago.
Yep, and it's good green. Green is good. You can consume this one green. So this is all the mushy side. So
But it's not a pie pumpkin. Pie pumpkins are sweet.
yeah,
It's like more,
this
People
is
call
sweet,
them
but it's
pumpkin.
like
people call them pumpkin, but they're more of a squash fan.
yeah, they're more of a squash. They are sweet, but it's not like an overly sweet kind of flavor profile to it.
Like a yam?
Yeah, it's almost like a sweet potato or yam in
I
that
don't even
sense.
think it's as sweet as, but yeah.
Yeah,
And is this what you would be using in place of potato?
Right, or and potato.
yep,
It's basically
And-
what you have a lot of.
yep. You have a lot, you dump it in a pot, you put it together, and it's chicken stew.
Now I've noticed in the islands they have pumpkins growing wild like everywhere.
Yeah.
Because you toss that seed out,
Yep, I got some growing in my house right now because I threw them in the
because
bucket.
there's never winter, so
Yep.
it constantly grows year round.
Yep.
If one of them doesn't get picked, that rots down and the seeds grow and make a new one.
Yep,
And so they grow like on the side of the road everywhere.
Yep.
And so people use them. They're not wasting anything.
nope,
I'm
because
so glad. Worried I was gonna have to throw that out.
no, look at that, it's getting used. So
But I didn't have a juicer because apparently they make a Jamaican drink by juicing that.
yeah, I've had it. It's also a carrot soup.
But I didn't have a juicer, so we weren't able to make it.
You should have offered to do it like a fresca. It's the same thing, just annoyingly long process, you know?
Well, mainly I didn't have time because I was making 7 different dishes. So
Hey,
I basically made a ginger limeade that takes like 5 minutes to make instead of a more complicated,
Yeah.
but
So when they're green, I like to keep the backs to them. When they get orange, I don't. I feel like they get rubbery once you cook them. But that's just a matter of taste, quite honestly.
I have to say hello to Suzanne traveling through Italy right now,
Hey,
visiting Italy, and she's coming back in a couple weeks to bring us some dishes she comes across in Italy. So
nice.
yeah,
That's gonna be exciting then.
yeah, she's the one that taught us how to make pasta from scratch.
Ah,
She was
okay.
like, hey, you want some fresh pasta? So I feel weird not cooking along. I'm so used to cooking along. I'm like,
I'm so sorry.
my hands are twitching, but part of it is if I start prepping it for you, the people who are cooking along will never stay caught up.
Yeah, which is why I'm just taking my time and trying to chop along. You all don't have this, so this is quite literally catch up time built in for you since I decided to do
Yeah.
my chicken stew instead of Matthew's chicken stew.
Yeah, that pumpkin was not on the list of ingredients.
It was not.
But it is. Now I've done it. I've done a chicken soup with like other like root vegetables. But it's
You know,
really
you can freeze the rest of this.
okay.
Like we can chop all this up. That's still not
That's
mushy.
true. I've
I'm
frozen
frozen it. I literally freeze it in cubes and I grab it from the freezer in cubes, like what I'm gonna use for the beans or whatever.
Okay.
So you got
I
about.
forgot about that, and yeah, we need to use it up. I mean,
Okay.
preserve it. So
Let me grab the parts that are not mushy. And it's about there.
and I don't think I should have put it in the fridge.
No,
I think it would have.
it
Yeah.
would have been better had you left it out.
But yeah, I would just everything I bought, I threw in the fridge, and then yeah, that's one of those vegetables that and tomatoes
Yes.
they stay better not in the fridge.
All right. So
But I remember in the Caribbean, you could just go and buy like basically a chunk this size at the store.
Yep.
So
you want to
that's-
throw that in your compost
I'm gonna-
pile to go some?
I'm gonna do that. I was like trying to grab it before you talked.
No, I had you. That's why I was like, you want these? Where's everybody at?
All right. So far,
Okay, so I just jumped ahead to the meat. I have frozen chicken breast and I have pre-cooked frozen turkey meat.
but
Those
they're
are-
both frozen.
Yeah, so that's why I
You thought
decided.
about-
Yeah, I'm just gonna nuke them quick to frost in the microwave, but I was trying to figure out which one or both.
So
You want the
um,
chunks, don't you, more than ground?
what? What
I mean, what is one of them ground? Or are they both chunks?
are you talking about?
Lulu has turkey and chicken, but
As long as it's in chunks, not ground, you should be able to use it. And you can throw it in there frozen.
yeah, you can throw it in frozen, but you want chunks, not ground.
Yes.
You want texture.
So I'll use a chicken breast and I'm gonna thaw it out real quick. And then because the turkey is from like Thanksgiving, it's frozen and in pieces and already cooked, roasted, that could be something I could just add at the end if I wanted it meatier. Did she hear me?
Yeah, you could.
Okay.
Well, you don't really want to add it to the end. You want it to like incorporate with the flavors. You want
Oh,
to
yeah.
add some like turkey or chicken at the end if you want it meatier. You really
But
want it
it's
to cook through
Yeah, you want it to cook through the entire time. But I always start with this stuff. So like right now I gotta start turning that before it burns on me. But once we get this stuff in the pot, you're literally just putting chicken in there and covering with water so that it cooks and cover. That's it. There's nothing else to this once everything's dumped in. So it's a leave it and forget it kind of stew. You just come in and make sure the bottom's not burning and that's it.
So you just You have it at medium heat, so you just want to like slow cook it.
Yep. Now, usually I don't make this on the stovetop anymore because the convenience of having like, you know, pressure cookers and one pots and stuff like that, right?
You put it in a slow cooker and let it cook all day.
Yeah, I do. In the morning, I dump everything in the pot. Like, I don't even cut stuff anymore. I literally just dump everything in the pot and then set it. And by the time we come home from work, Vic is giving it like one mix or two to get everything really mixed in there, but it's already cooked. And we're just making rice to pour it over. So it's one of those meals that it's really easy to prep and leave it, especially if you know that you're gonna have a really busy day.
Now, when you said pour it over, do you want it pretty watery? You make it decently. You're making a soup, not a stew, right?
So last time I made it, it didn't come out as thick because we overwatered. But normally you want it to simmer down to a thicker version of itself. You want it to be kind of like that creamy bean, you know, like if you're doing beans and it has that creamy viscosity,
So,
it's kind of like that.
Very more of a thick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
More like a gravy.
And that's why you cook the potatoes from the beginning. Because when I cook soups, I usually cut the potatoes and put them in like 20 minutes before to just, otherwise they lose their texture. But here you're trying to let the potatoes break down.
Yep. I'm trying to use the potatoes and the squash and all of the other natural things as my means to get it thickened in a natural way.
So gentle, I just stab it in the middle.
Because every time I do that, I end up with a mess or covered in it. So I know me and my strength, and I'm trying to not hulk into it.
Yeah, I was always the other way. I was so gentle that I needed to add attitude to it.
Can I have a clean spoon? Because I don't want to muck up the rest of your stuff. Thank you very much, sir.
That almost looks like a silver spoon.
Yeah, it does. It might actually be. So
I got most of the stuff in this kitchen from auctions or thrift stores.
So I'm doing 1 spoonful of this chicken bouillon.
And
Chicken base.
Can add at the end if you need more flavor.
Yeah.
Like
So
now I've seen it, you know, sometimes served with like fresh chopped garlic and cilantro right when you're serving it. So if someone wanted the flavor, or is that just more of a just make it look fancy?
Make it look fancy and presentable because, you know, some people have a different flavor profile. Like what I think is enough garlic may not be enough garlic for other people. You know? I'm gonna do more sofrito because I need it. I can smell it.
You can smell that it needs more flavor?
Yeah. I cook with my nose, or I know it sounds weird, but it's true.
Are you peeling your potatoes?
Yeah, no. I'm just chopping them.
Well,
I'm tossing them in there.
okay, clarify. You said yeah, nah. Which one is it?
I was processing the question.
Okay.
The question was whether or not I was peeling them, right?
Correct.
And I was like, no.
No, you don't peel them.
No, I just wash them thoroughly.
Like, and if you don't have to wash them if you grow your stuff organic. Dirt is good. I'm just.
Botulism is organic.
But also Kenya. So I'm just gonna quarter these because I don't want them to completely be destroyed, but I definitely want some of that thickness.
Okay.
This one will be more like a third. They're kind of big.
And even like this little teeny potato you're gonna cut because you want that starchiness of the center of the potato to break down and thicken.
Exactly. See, look at or reading my mind.
One time I was not able to get it thick, and I put powdered potatoes in it.
I've done that. Victoria caught me doing that, and she looked at me. She said, "Shoot." And I said, "Science exists for a reason, ma'am." I'm like, scientists gave us powdered potatoes. We could use them. Okay. So tater, and then I gotta switch boards because we're switching to chicken. Oh no, I haven't done the onion. What are these?
Well, how about I cut some onions,
Okay.
because we're making a lot. This is a good habit to have different colored cutting boards.
Yep.
You
Just
have,
for food safety. Yeah.
Commonly blue and green are for vegetables, yellow is for chicken, red is for red meat, and then brown is for cooked meat. That's what I've heard. You can create your own, pattern, but
Food safety, number one.
try not to cross-contaminate stuff that way.
Exactly.
Are you gonna want more garlic?
Yeah.
All
I
right.
can smell it.
Okay,
Trader?
I have a question. I put my vegetables, except for the potatoes, but go ahead and put my potatoes in with all the other vegetables
Yeah.
and
Yes, you
saute.
can.
Now it's getting kind of dry because I put the jarred sofrito in there and the pack of
You can add a little bit of water to this
Okay.
or some of that. But you don't want to add so much water that you kill the frying. Just,
What about more oil? And what kind of
it'll be really greasy if you add more oil.
okay? And what's your favorite cooking oil? Did you say you made homemade annatto oil?
I actually, yeah, so I get annatto seeds and I put them in avocado oil that I purchase, and then have the annatto color bleed into that oil and use that to cook. So that way I get the yellow color, but without the red 40.
Now, maybe, Lulu, you have your temperature a little too high and the vegetables haven't started sweating out water.
Yeah.
Because I mean,
But
like,
but don't put a lid on it.
especially onions, if you have the onions cooking slow, they'll start sweating out a lot of water.
Yep.
And so I'm just cubing my
Actually beautifully cut already.
You
How big-
faded out there, Lulu. Say it again.
How big did you cut your potatoes?
I just quartered them.
So that, okay, cool.
I mean, you just want to have access to the center.
Yep.
For that white part to release into it to make it a thickener.
Yep.
Am I saying it right?
Yes.
So,
Sí, señor.
I mean, actually, that means you could use kind of older potatoes.
Yes.
You don't
And I have.
you don't really want to use real fresh potatoes for it because they don't release the starch as much.
These are so pretty.
Yeah, those local chicken.
Yes. They're
Yeah.
so pretty.
And they're, so flavorful. That's what I found out. It's like, it's much more expensive, but you can make 2 or 3 meals from the same chicken if you pull the meat off, and then you can make crack the bones, and you can make a dark broth, bone broth, and a light bone broth. So first you cook it, you take it and you make a broth with the bones, and that's your light bone broth. And then you crack the bones and you make a dark bone broth. So you just, with the same chicken, you made 3 different.
Yep. Wow. All right. So, or all I need is the adobo so that I can sprinkle these before I toss them in there.
I'm gonna add that to it. Which adobo? Black pepper or without?
I like with black pepper and cumin, if you got any of those.
Let's use up the last of this one.
Okay.
I didn't. That's the first time I've seen adobo without pepper. But
So chicken is gonna be chicken, so I'm literally just dry seasoning it with the adobo powder before I toss it in there. So that way it already comes with a little bit of its own flavor profile.
and part of it with salt, it makes it hold the moisture in.
Yes, that's actually why I do it. It was a trick by my mom, always.
Look at how dark and red the local chicken. Hold up one versus. So local chicken versus store-bought chicken. Like how much,
The difference is, yeah.
and the darker it is, the more flavor.
Yep.
So you're throwing away the good flavor. That was like the.
Can't. I saw it happen
You're
in my last batch. I couldn't.
You're not the only one. That, like most people, they throw away the skin and the chicken.
I don't throw it all away. I just cut it when it's like super excessive like that.
About that.
Yeah, you can throw it on top. I'm
Okay.
about to mix it all anyways.
It doesn't matter.
At this point, it's
Okay.
done. The sofrito
Onions
part
and
is always.
peppers.
Yep, some more onions and peppers.
Oh, that's starting to get some good flavor.
You can smell it.
Like you said, I'm tasting it with my nose.
Yes, told you. You can always taste Puerto Rican food with your nose.
That's hilarious. I just walked up to it and I was like, I could literally taste it in my mouth and I was just smelling it. I thought you were, oh, okay. You were really telling the truth.
Yep. I can really tell that it needs, more stuff just by the smell of it. So now that I'm mixing it around, I
Wow.
start adding water to break down some of the
Now,
that I made in the bottom.
any other vegetables like I have used like zucchini and green squash because that also breaks down and thickens.
Yeah. I've never used those two
Okay.
in Puerto Rican food. I know that my mom has. When we first moved down here, there was we used to get a lot of squash. Someone donated to us all the time.
Oh,
And so we learned to, but I don't need gloves to pour that. So,
I mean,
so-
it's
it was a lot of lessons, man. Seeing what's here and trying to cook like our food, right? With what we have access to.
what's available.
Yeah.
You would think there would be more zucchini growing, but I think zucchini is a cold weather. I know it grows very profusely,
Yes.
but maybe it's more of a cold weather plant. I don't know.
So for your at home, if you're doing 2 to 3 pounds of this chicken, you only need the short stack can, which are like 8 ounces. We do 8 ounces of that and 8 ounces of water. It's usually enough to get up there, enough to cover the meat. If it isn't, all you need is to get just above so that all the meat's covered, and then cover the thing and let it cook.
So the tomato is literally just a little bit of flavor.
That's it.
So it's like give it some umami.
Yep.
So
Did you
so
already
that's
throw
really
your?
what yeah, she salted it with adobo seasoning and then threw it all in there. So right now everything's in the pot.
Yep. Everything's already in the pot. And then it's just letting it cook. Well, I gotta add water.
You put the tomatoes, sauce in there, and just need to add water.
Yep.
And then let it slow cook.
Yep.
For a while, and
so
then
the chicken's cooked, and then you're done. Your potatoes are done. Everything else is cooked. You're good.
and you
you can
serve it
consume it.
over
Yeah.
over rice. Where's my rice?
Let me go grab some water for
I'm
this.
trying to look for my rice scooper. You don't want to use metal on that rice.
Yeah, you need a plastic thing.
I got so many dishes. There it is.
Gotcha.
Now, one thing with rice I've definitely learned is do not mix it.
Nope.
Now, when you're done, you fluff it up.
Yep.
So while it's cooking, do not open the lid. It's so hard for me because I like looking at stuff.
You like watching the process?
Yeah. So this rice actually came out almost perfect. And you want to mix it only because there's a chance that some of the rice at the very top.
Didn't cook? You
It
wanna
isn't
make sure
quite
that it
cooked.
does, yeah. So I'm just adding the water
otherwise you get a
now.
layer of mushy on the bottom and a layer of not quite cooked on the top.
Look that I actually measured that water perfectly. It's just above. So
There we go. What else we need to cover?
I am just doing,
Now you leave that at medium temperature.
yeah, because I'm not in a rush to finish it. But my mom used to cook this on high.
So
And how they're done in 30 minutes.
I guess if you had everything like ready or, you know, could do it quickly. Now what I would do is I'd bring it to high, bring it to a boil and then lower it down to a simmer. What I
That's
tend to do.
exactly what my mom would do.
Okay.
So my mom would bring this to a boil on high. Once it's boiling, lower it down and let it simmer and cook down some of the water so it's a nice stew.
So she just puts it on high and starts throwing everything in there really
Yeah.
quickly and then add the water when it's at a boil. Like,
Yep.
Then turn it down to a simmer.
Yep, and cover it. That's it. And I watched her do this in giant vats for our restaurant. Was it chicken the protein? Was it beef the protein? Was it bunny the protein? Was it guineas? Because you know we cook the Royal Guineas, their chicken to us.
But
too.
never seafood?
Yeah, I've done seafood ones too.
Okay, because I
I've
would
done
think on an
seafood.
island, but
Mhm.
I'm actually surprised how little seafood people on the island traditionally, you know.
Because seafood is for people who can afford it, right?
So
If you
you'd
don't live
sell
by the
the
cost.
seafood and you'd eat what's left.
Yeah.
Got it.
We used to grow bunnies just so that I had bunnies to do once a year, you know, what we call fricassee, which is slightly different than this. It's kind of like the stew, but they use beer in it. And that is normally reserved for bunny or goat. But it's the same
Ooh.
basis. Yeah,
I want to make some goat.
you want to make some goat?
I miss goat. All right, Lulu, do you have Suzanne popped off. Usually she has a few questions, but any last questions for the chef before we wrap up?
So you put, yes. So you put as much stock, you know, be it from bouillon, you put that in, then so if I use like 2 teaspoons of the bouillon, just put in at least 2 cups of water and at least to cover.
Yeah, all you gotta do is cover the meat and stuff that you've done just slightly above. So if you leave enough room, because you gotta remember that's gonna boil down some anyways and thicken. So you want to give it that room so that it's not dry, but you have some liquid in there.
Yep.
So I would say always aim for about a cup higher than what you want.
Cool. I think that's it. And serve over rice.
Yep, serve over rice. It really is a beautiful, quick. My mom used to do this right after school. It was the meal that she chose to either with beef or chicken. Because she could crank it out in 30 minutes.
I wouldn't think of this as a quick dish, meaning when I make chicken soup, I like to slow cook it for a long time.
Yep.
But you could, I mean, basically you're cooking chicken. Everything else, I mean, is flavor.
Yep.
So you're not having to like, you know, chicken takes 20 minutes.
Yep.
So, okay.
Yep.
So, and typically serve with anything besides rice or?
It's over rice. I've had people like have like a slice of avocado with it because it adds a fresh flavor to it because it's a very, the flavor profile will be very
or like
salt,
I've seen
umami
at
kind
restaurants
of.
where they put like onion, garlic, chopped up cilantro, like mix on top, but that's just kind of a.
Yeah, it's just a
garnish.
fancy garnish so that it looks really cool, but
Okay.
it really is just about having a clean flavor so that if you want to retaste it, because something about Puerto Rican food, like I don't know about last time when you had the corned beef, right?
Yeah.
The first flavor, punch of flavor, right? You keep eating it and like you become accustomed to it, and so you stop tasting it because you're now used to it. and you cut that with some avocado, it'll punch you just like the first time.
Oh, it's like the people who rinse their mouth out with water while they're tasting wine.
Yes. And literally avocado plays that role for us. We literally just use it to cut it so that we can retaste that punch of flavor again.
Okay. I think that's why a lot of people drink water while they're eating. I don't like having that habit, but I think a lot of people do that because you rinse out your taste buds and then you start over with the flavors.
Absolutely.
So, all right. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me again, everyone. And I hope that you enjoy this. For everyone, obviously, you're going to be watching this until it's cooked at home. Let me know your thoughts. I want to hear about it, and I want to know whether or not you like them, so that way we can think of more ideas to do with Or.
Share the culture, share the food, and
Absolutely.
in this
One
kitchen,
more question.
Absolutely.
Since you came back, he didn't do his normal introduce yourself, where you're from, and just so do that. Even though it's at the end, your name.
I'll close it out.
All right, cool. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me, everybody. Thank you for watching again. So my name is Jahaira Jaja Vargas. I am the executive director of Southern Illinois Culture and Arts and Bilingual Education locally here. We have an event actually coming up September 26th with Un, Dos, Tres, Andres. They're going to be with us at the public library. And this event is part of the Jackson County Youth Development Coalition. So we have some bilingual talent, some Latin Grammy winners coming to our town. So please make sure to check this out. It's going to be a really cool exchange. So that is me. Nice seeing everybody.
bringing culture to the country.
Always.
I keep trying to hit the wrong button.
You got it?
No.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you all for having me again.
Did I not?
Enjoy your meal.
There it is.